Walkout with Paul and Jay, with red hot stories from post game, interviews, analysis, within the hour, right here at the Growler.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of the Walkout, presented by Cincy Shirts. Paul Dehner Jr., Jay Morrison, here with you in Nashville, where, Jay, if you've ever come to Nashville before and, let's say, enjoyed yourself on certain streets like Broadway or really any number of places down here where you can be served an adult beverage, you've experienced weekends where you walk out of there saying, what just happened? What did we just watch? What did we witness? I don't understand any of it. And you said, but I think it was fun. Well, that kind of sums up Bengals 37, Titans 27 today, where it was just a circus. It was basically just a circus for 3.5 hours, and it was hard to actually keep up with all of the insanity and the wackiness that occurred.
Yeah, I mean, wildly entertaining game. A lot of weird stuff happened. I can't wait to read your story because I'm even trying to go through my mind of all the crazy things that happened in this game. And I know you were ranking them all. So I'm looking forward to reading that, seeing what your number one crazy thing is. There was just so many things and so big things, touchdowns, things that nobody will forget. But there's, like I said, there's stuff that happened out there today that I've already forgotten. The game was just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I've got a list compiled. You can go to The Athletic and kind of read through all of it, sort of went to all the wacky things and kind of got some people to talk about all of them and more insight into that. But, you know, a lot to get to when we talk about our main takeaways from this and where you go from here. Do want to remind everybody, go to cincyshirts.com. Maybe this would be a good day, you know, if you could do the silhouette of Burrow on the ground. It would maybe, you know, with his hands up in the air, look at the T. Higgins touchdown. You know, there's a lot of shirts you could do about Joe Burrow on the ground this season, which has happened a lot, but he made a lot of big plays doing it today. If you're talking about the Titans, if you had love for Tavondre Sweat, you could get the stiff arm of Alex Kappa. Kappa would not be buying that shirt either. But, of course, everything Cincinnati, teams, nostalgia, you name it, you can get it all at Cincy Shirts, 10% off with Growler Pod as your promo code. Make sure you go check that out. More on them later. And a reminder, our next live show is going to be on the 22nd, the next game, home game, Browns. We're going to start at 10 o'clock. That's a kickoff at 1. It's our Christmas show. We're lining up gifts. We're going to have gifts. We're going to be giving all kinds of stuff away, prizes galore, hundreds of dollars in giveaways that we're going to be doing down there for our Christmas show. We want to give to you. We're so thankful for all that you guys do to listen to us and watch us. So if you're coming down to the game and you want some stuff, trust me, jerseys, you name it. We're going to be doing all that, giving that away down there at BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar. At the banks, you can reserve a table. Just go to nationkitchenandbar.com, click the reserve a table button, and you can do that for that or any big event that they have down there. Jay, your number one takeaway, though, in general from this game?
They're still breathing.
Yeah.
They're still alive. There's still a chance. I mean, stranger things have happened, but that's the thing. We talked about it walking in today. It was just like a morgue-like atmosphere. There was no energy outside the stadium. There's no energy inside the stadium. 10 minutes before kickoff, there's more open seats than there were full seats. And it for a while, it didn't look like the Bengals had a lot of interest in playing this game. And then they got going. Some crazy things started happening. The juices started flowing. And they were down to the Titans. And then Will Levis turned into Will Levis. The Bengals defense started getting all these turnovers and capitalizing on them. And they stayed alive. And, Joe Burrow talked about it. He's like, it's always in the back of your mind until you're officially eliminated. It's not the main thing that they're talking about right now or focusing on is the fact that they are still alive for the playoffs. But the point remains they are still alive. They did what they had to do today. You have to beat teams like this. They still don't have a win against a very good team, but you got to beat these kind of teams that are on your schedule. And 2 road wins in a row. Now they go home to Paycor where they haven't been able to win very often this year.
Yeah, no. On Who Day Light, we were talking about this as like it's the 12-team parlay that you're trying to hit. Hey, 2 legs in. You can't hit all 12 if you don't hit the first 2. The Bengals are still breathing technically, and you see maybe they get the results that they like. It's going to come down to Denver. Will Denver probably lose enough that they can get back into it? But the Bengals are around. They're hanging around. It's not over yet. I'm not dead yet. I think I'll go for a walk. So that's the playoff situation is still not out. They're on the board now, like they're in the hunt or in the mix. So they went from off the screen to on the screen. So good for them on that one. An interesting thing, I thought this was very reminiscent of the Vegas game where they came out. They largely dominated because the other team was not very good. In this case, Will Levis was not very good today, throwing all kinds of, 3 interceptions and just fumbles, setting up play after play. And they win the Bengals win handily. And Joe Burrow is angry on the sidelines, disappointed and frustrated in the post game. It was very similar that way, where it was sloppy. It was not up to the standard. This is not the level of offense they're supposed to play. Yeah, they scored 37 points. You get a pick 6 off of that. You got a couple of short fields off of that. I mean, all the penalties. This game had 26 penalties and 10 turnovers. 26 penalties and 10 turnovers. That combo hasn't happened this century. The 10 turnovers is the most in a game since week 2 of 2007. Yeah. I mean, it was sloppy, and the Bengals contributed to it. That wasn't all Tennessee. They were sloppy. Procedure penalties, false starts. Burrow had a couple of ugly, an ugly pick and a fumble, and they made their fair share of plays, and they played well enough to win this game. But he's right. I mean, that's not up to their standard the way that they did operate as an offense today. And then you saw what kind of went viral after the game, which was Burrow and Zach Taylor having a little bit of an animated conversation on the sideline. And Burrow pointed out after the game that was just because of the general feeling of frustration from all the sloppiness today. That's what that was all about.
Yeah, and it was, and specifically there right before they scored that touchdown, they've got 1st and goal. I mean, it looks like they got a first career touchdown to Cam Grandy. He's out inside the 1. They were only at the 10. They only walk up 9 yards. They had 40 seconds to get up there and run a play, and they end up taking a delay of game penalty. Not a good day for the officials either. They only marked them back 4 yards instead of 5 somehow on that play. And then so you get the delay of game penalty, and then you get a false start. Matt Lee has a false start. So all of a sudden you go from 1st and goal at the 1 to 1st and goal at the 10. Again, they overcome it. They overcame a lot today. They get the touchdown, but then it was after that touchdown is when you saw Burrow really upset on the sideline. And Zach said there was an issue there with the headset going out. Remember in the playoff game here a few years ago, the headset went out and Burrow basically called his own plays on a drive, and they ended up scoring on that drive. And so I think the frustrations with the headset issues, the penalties, just everything that went into today. You mentioned the Bengals had 14 penalties, 11 were on the offense. And a lot of them were illegal formation, false starts. So like things that are easily shouldn't happen. They're just routine things. And 3 straight games now with double-digit penalties. First time in franchise history that's ever happened. And this is a team that's been the best team in the league as far as fewest penalties. So yeah, you can see where the frustration is building with Burrow. And you asked Zach about it. What was that about after the game? And he said just a back and forth conversation. He didn't want to get into it. Burrow didn't want to get into what was actually said, but Burrow said it came about because of frustration, which makes sense because there was a lot to be frustrated about.
And a lot of young players are part of it. Not all, but Cam Grandy, Matt Lee. I mean, some of these names that you're mentioning, guys that aren't in the game a lot or are young players. And so you've seen that's kind of been a theme in a lot of these big mistakes this year. You've seen a lot of these young players that have been forced into these roles have been the ones making a lot of mistakes. But T. Higgins, he lines up not far enough in the backfield on one they get, it's just there's a lot that goes into it, obviously, but certainly a bunch of different places. Now, talk about things you can't excuse. Jordan Battle returns a fumble 60 yards, and then 1 yard before it goes, decides this is the moment to switch the ball in my hand, even though no one's near me, to the other side, and it falls out of his hand, and he ends up going out of the back of the end zone for a touchback. And how this continues, how it happens, how this continues to happen. We saw, and then later today, Jonathan Taylor did the same thing for the Colts. How is this happening, people? And football players that are out, how is it possible that this still happens when you have a clean shot to the end zone and you're messing around with anything? Just get into the end zone, and Battle stays in the game. He wasn't pulled, and it was kind of he knows the mistake we made. We can't have that or whatever, but they did leave him in the game. But it's the kind of that's the type of stuff that adds up. And what made this game just insane, there was about 10 things like that today where you're just like, did that really just happen?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan didn't say this was what he was thinking, but the weird thing is he switched it from his left hand to his right. Normally, he had it in the left hand where he wanted on the outside up against the side. I think he was just going to chuck the ball against the back of the wall, and he dropped it. And it's different than the Jonathan Taylor one. It's different than the Jets receiver earlier this year where they just kind of showboat and drop it a little bit early. And Zach even showed that play to the team. I think it was a Thursday night game when the Jets guy dropped it shy of the goal line. So I give Jordan a little bit of a pass there because it wasn't like he was showboating, but you can't do that. And that would have been his first career touchdown. I think it would have been his first touchdown. And they should have 44 points, and they would have put this game away a lot sooner. And it's just one of those things where so many things like that happen today, things that you don't think you'll ever see, and then you see a bunch of them in one game.
And franchise records too. I mean, we saw a bunch of franchise records, 6 straight games scoring at least 27 points. That's now a franchise record. 36 touchdown passes this season for Joe Burrow. That's now a franchise record. I'm missing some. There's Jamar Chase joins Marvin Harrison, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, and Cooper Kupp as the only receivers to have a season of 100 catches, 1,400 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Decent company there. I mean, it just seemed like every quarter a new record was happening.
Yeah.
And that's just a testament to the seasons that obviously that they've been having. The other one is Sam Hubbard caught a touchdown pass today. I mean, so, you had Sam said that was one that they'd been working on. And he knew it was going to be up this week. So on Friday, he said he was out there in practice catching extra balls from Burrow and Jake Browning. And they said, look, it might be a little more contested on the play. And he goes out there. He says he's kind of faking like he doesn't understand the blocking assignment and talking about cut blocks to throw him off. And he ends up getting free. And Burrow makes it clear there was nothing else he was doing on that play other than throwing a touchdown to his boy. And and he does. And Sam makes a great catch and gets up and spikes the ball, and then he was declared out with a knee injury because, of course, he ends up hurting his knee on the play. Kind of got up and looked normal in the celebration, but he did hurt his knee. He said PCL. Maybe he was kind of speculating they need to go look at it with an MRI tomorrow, but that's kind of the update on that. But, a cool moment, and it's, again, we've talked a lot about what changes are going to happen this offseason. His numbers in terms of his cap hit and dead money and the production that you've seen his role scaled back. You wonder that could end up being his last play as a Bengal, potentially catching a touchdown pass. And if so, what an amazing way to go out.
From one of his best friends. Him and Burrow are so close. They both talked about it after the game. Burrow saved him. So Hubbard had the violent spike, and Burrow went and got the ball and retrieved it for him. And he talked about how he's going to cherish this. His 3rd career touchdown, but first on offense. Talk about franchise records. He's only the 2nd defensive player to ever score an offensive touchdown in Bengals history. The last time it happened was Game 5 of franchise history back in 1968. A safety they put in and his name's escaping me right now. I'm sorry. His last name's Hunt. He ran a 5-yard touchdown run. It's just amazing number one, that they did it there. I thought at the time, then Burrow explained in the post-game press conference that it was 3rd and goal. And it's like, well, that's a gutsy call on 3rd and goal. But he's like, that was 4-down territory. That's why you try to play like that on 3rd down, because you know you're going to go for it again. But that tied the game. If that doesn't end up being a touchdown and then they get stopped on 4th down, we could be talking about a totally different circumstance here.
Yeah, no question. And, cool moment for Sam, big moment, and did create a spark that kind of helped turn that game because there was a lot of momentum with Tennessee early. I mean, they had the Tavondre Sweat, the 366-pound Tavondre Sweat picks up a fumble of Joe Burrow, shakes off one guy, and Alex Kappa's like, all right, I'll go tackle this big man. And he gets stiff-armed to the ground, nasty. And, Sweat kind of said, look, I've been doing that my whole way when I was a kid. I would always, that's what I did or whatever, but he's got some skill. Put him in. They had Jeffrey Simmons in the game at fullback. I think they should have Sweat up there. That dude looks like he's a threat when he's got the ball. He ends up running 30 yards down the sideline. I mean, it was just a fun thing. Tajay Spears ends up getting basically carried into the end zone like Simba and Lion King. He's just holding him up in the air. He got carried all the way through over to the other side of the end zone. You have the first Burrow touchdown. He holds the ball for 9 seconds and that was the second longest of his career. You remember San Francisco last year, that 1 third down conversion that he had where he was running all over the place. That's the only one longer than that. I mean, just buying time. Chase Brown said he was left, right, up, down, and then back, and came back to eventually catch the touchdown pass from Burrow, but just creating all over the place, but doing, again, things that even Burrow, we haven't really seen him do anything like that. It was only the third touchdown pass this year by a quarterback who held the ball for 9 seconds or more. There were 2 other ones. You know what they were? The Washington Commanders, Hail Mary against the Bears, and in that end zone right there, Drake May at the end of the Patriots-Tennessee game where he tied the game against the Titans, and they've just got to be sitting there thinking, Jesus, this again, unbelievable. So what Burrow, really all of his touchdowns today, I thought were special plays. The touchdown ball to T. Higgins at the end, he takes a huge shot.
He does too.
And T does too. And he gets the ball there. He knows that he's just going to throw it to a spot because the coverage should be open there. It got there enough, but because of the power, he couldn't get on it. T had to take a shot from the safety. He holds on at home, his hometown, a home state. Certainly a lot of love for T here. And, but the kind of plays that Burrow just has that special connection where he sees it, knows he can't really do anything other than take the hit and hope it gets there, and he does, and makes a huge play in that game, 38-yard touchdown pass.
And Zach did it again. He sent Burrow, T, and Chase out just to kind of send a message to Brian Callahan that, this is what you're going to be dealing with today. But that's 2 times now that they've done it, and they've won both the games. Maybe that becomes a thing. Maybe he sends those guys out every game until they lose one.
Yeah, Brian Callahan doesn't need to be reminded that he does not have the weapons right now, because that's apparent when you watch Will Levis play, which is just gross. I mean, the interceptions just right to people. Geno Stone gets a pick 6, and it just everybody seemed to make a play on defense, which is saying something that doesn't happen very often. It certainly didn't look like it was going to happen early in this game when they were really getting beat up and down the field. One thing Geno Stone did say post-game is just kind of talking about how the last couple of weeks, Lou, they have really simplified everything all the way down just so they can just go play fast. And almost like, he didn't say this, but I took it this way, almost like a preseason-ish game plan, just to see guys go play instinctual and fast a little bit more. And they seem to think that it worked a little bit. I think Will Levis and Cooper Rush help that, certainly when you're just talking about not seeing great quarterback play, but still a little bit better from the defense today, certainly when you throw in the turnovers that they were able to create.
However, after Levis left, Mason Rudolph, 21 of 26 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 109.8 rating. This is the second time this year where the Bengals won a game where if the opponent had started the correct quarterback, they may not have won. You remember the Cleveland game, Deshaun Watson was awful. Then they go to DTR and a mysterious finger injury. They put in Jameis Winston, and Winston played really well against them and just ran out of time. Now Winston got benched today, and they put DTR back in. So who knows which quarterback the Bengals are going to see. But if Mason Rudolph starts this game, we could be talking about a different outcome. I mean, that's how bad Will Levis was. And Mason Rudolph came in and played really well against this defense. And a lot of it was prevent defense. The Bengals had a comfortable lead, and they were just kind of sitting back and letting him hit the underneath stuff. But still, it was a big day for the defense in terms of the turnovers. But I mean, they still got lit up a little bit in the passing game. They were much better against the run. They only gave up 83 yards, 3.2 per carry. That is a positive sign because that is something that had to get better. And you meant the Jordan Battle play, heck of a play by McKinley Jackson to force that fumble, his first real splash play. So you're seeing some of these young guys start to, I think Jenkins had a sack today, didn't he? Or he had a pressure. You're seeing these young guys kind of coming along and getting a little better. And maybe that does go to what Gino was talking about, simplifying the game plan. Just let him go out there and play.
Yeah, and perhaps it's been a little paralysis by analysis type deal going on this year for a lot of these guys. We've obviously talked ad nauseum about that potentially being an issue with this defense, but a better showing today. Half Will Levis, half the Titans, half the Bengals making plays. Yep. Yeah. Look, don't worry about my percentages, okay? It's been a long weekend for all of us. But yeah, so a wild day here. Bengals win. They now come back and they face Cleveland. And you can kind of look at the Denver Indy thing, like who did you want to win for them to stay? Like it's kind of a wash. You need teams to lose. The Colts have to lose a couple of games, and their schedule is easy the rest of the way. The Colts, but who do they have the next 3 weeks?
These guys next week.
Yes, the Titans. They have the Jags. And another one that's escaping me. I didn't write it down. What are we doing? What are we doing? It's okay.
It's not a good.
It's not. It doesn't matter. It's not important. So you have that, and then but Denver has Kansas City and the Chargers still on their schedule, and then obviously the Bengals. And you're going to have to win out. They're going to have to find a way to win those games. But chip in a chair and a prayer for the Cincinnati Bengals still. So the New York Giants are that other team, if you want to say truly dreadful. I mean, they're basically that team. That team is going to decide who gets the number 1 overall draft pick potentially, because if one of those ends up not being a win, you could end up seeing that team have the number 1 pick. And I got to tell you, if you're Brian Callahan, you're watching that today and say, "Oh, I think it's time to tank." That team needs a quarterback, and they need it bad because it's so hard to win with the way that they're currently playing right now. Okay, we do want to remind everybody again. Walkout presented by Cincy Shirts, our great friends at Cincy Shirts. Make sure you go down there. You can go to any of their stores, of course. They have one in Hyde Park. You got Loveland. Or you can order anything online, any shirt. You can go to the stores and they'll print them out for you right there on the spot. And of course, great gifts, always giving away great gifts. If you want to know somebody from anywhere that you want to give a Cincinnati gift over the holidays, Cincy Shirts, a great place to go do it. And speaking of great gifts, come on down. BetMGM, Nation Inn Kitchen and Bar at the Banks on Sunday. We will be down there. Christmas show. We're going to be giving away all kinds of stuff from jerseys to everything in between. You look for that. It's going to be fun. We're really looking forward to doing that and kind of giving back as much as we can to all of you that do so much to support our show. We certainly appreciate it. All right. On that note, anything other wild or wacky that you want to touch on before we leave, or did we pretty much get it?
I really enjoyed the biographical opening that you had with the crazy stuff happening on Broadway and not remembering things. It was a fun night. It was a fun visit to Tennessee. Ready to get home.
We need to get home, and we hit the car now. So on that note, thanks to everybody for listening and watching on YouTube, of course. Subscribe, hit the bell, do all those things, and we will talk to you next time. Have a good one.